This story begins with a fight, everyone shouting "kill, kill." Our protagonist, Duan Fei, was once a college student. However, everything changed 20 years ago when a zombie outbreak swept across the world. Duan Fei's life was completely destroyed by this apocalyptic event. Despite the odds, he managed to survive for 20 years in this new world. Now he is facing a life or death situation. Though he fears death, he realizes that he is even more afraid of facing his family in the afterlife because 20 years ago, Duan Fei abandoned his only family for his own selfish survival. Since then, he has been haunted by this decision and feels that his life is coming to an end. He has decided that from now on he will never run away from danger, and if he dies, he will atone for his sins in hell. Unfortunately, he is already out of strength. Suddenly, he wakes up in his bed. He's confused. Why is he in his room? Wasn't his house destroyed 20 years ago? And why isn't there a stench of flesh and blood in the air? He wonders if it's all just a dream. But if it isn't a dream, that means... He takes a look in the mirror and realizes he has traveled 20 years back in time. If it isn't a dream, that means his little sister Xinyue is still alive. He runs out to meet her. Memories flood back to him as he remembers when the zombie outbreak started. A zombie broke into his house and he was paralyzed with fear. He ran away, leaving his sister behind, and thought he would never see her again. After seeing the clock in his college's acceptance letter, he confirms that he has indeed traveled back in time. Then we see a beautiful white-haired girl wearing a white dress sitting on a wheelchair beside a window. Overcome with emotion, he quickly runs to his sister and hugs her, sobbing and apologizing for being a bad big brother. Xinyue comforts him and thinks he must have had a bad dream. As Duan Fei checked the clock, he realized that chaos would soon engulf the ward in less than half a day. He quickly began to gather resources, knowing that food would be essential in the days to come. He purchased so much food that he needed a truck to transport it all back to his home. Once he arrived home, Duan Fei created a makeshift spear from a knife. His sister Xinyue questioned him about a notification she had received stating that he had spent all of their savings. He tried to explain to her that she wouldn't believe him if he told her that the apocalypse was coming. Xinyue thought her brother had either fallen ill or lost his mind. Duan Fei told her that she would see for herself in just a few hours. Deep in thought, he remembered that the time was almost upon them. The first stage of the apocalypse, known as revelation, would last for 1 week. By its end, 90% of humanity would have perished or turned into zombies. Only the fortunate few who survived this hellish world would have the chance to evolve. At midnight, a man stumbles down the road. He's drunk and angry. His boss wants him to come into work at midnight. Suddenly, he hears a dog barking. In his rage, he throws his bottle at the dog. But this is no ordinary dog, it's a zombie dog. It attacks the man and kills him. Elsewhere in the city, zombies roam the streets. Xinyue watches from their window and asks her brother Duan Fei what's happening. Duan Fei explains that everyone has turned into zombies and it's the start of the apocalypse. Suddenly, there's a knock at their door. It's their neighbor Mrs. Huang asking for help. Duan Fei remembers that this has happened before. Last time Xinyue tried to help Miss Huang, but her husband had turned into a zombie and attacked her. Duan Fei was scared and ran away, leaving his sister behind. Before Duan Fei can react, Xinyue opens the door. She sees Mr. Huang attacking Mrs. Huang. Being afraid of this sight, in trembling voice "Se," said brother. In that moment Duan Fei recalls something from his previous life. He remembers being on a mission with Senior Qing and their team. Noticing Duan Fei's long face, one of his teammates reassures him, "Don't worry, we're positioned safely at the back. Our front team has already taken care of all the high-level zombies. This area is pretty much safe." Hey, we readers know it clearly, it is a massive death flag. Let's continue the story. Out of nowhere, their team was surrounded by high-level zombies and panic set in as everyone ran for their lives. One brave team member attempted to take charge and commanded everyone to hold their ground and defend against the attack. Despite their efforts, they were no match for the powerful high-level zombies. Then we saw Duan Fei found himself face-to-face with a towering high-level zombie and cried out for assistance from his senior Qing. But Qing, overcome with fear, abandoned Duan Fei and fled. Then he realized how it felt to be abandoned. And how much despair and helplessness Xinyue felt when he ran away, leaving her behind. Then he thought he would never let that happen again. This time, he would surely save her, and that's how he would make up for his mistake. Back to present. He ordered his sister to close her eyes and threw the spear at Mr. Huang. The spear struck Mr. Huang's eye, but he didn't die. Xin Yue asked her brother what had happened to Mr. Huang, and he replied that he had turned into a zombie. "Don't worry," he said, "I'll keep you safe. Just keep your eyes closed and it will be over soon." Mr. Huang attacked Xin Yue, but Duan Fei defended her by cutting Mr. Huang's hand with a knife. When Mr. Huang didn't back off, Duan Fei pushed Xin Yue's wheelchair back with his feet and stabbed Mr. Huang's feet. Duan Fei knew that in the first stage, zombies have no intelligence and only have a desire to eat. Retrieving his spear, he thought about how just half a day ago he had been fighting high-level zombies. Although his body wasn't very tough, his experience was enough to handle a low-level zombie like Mr. Huang. He attacked Mr. Huang with his spear and finishes him. Xin Yue slowly opened her eyes and clinched her brother's shirt from behind, asking him to stop because he was looking very scary. Duan Fei said sorry and promised to protect her no matter what happens. Suddenly, he heard in his head, "Killed a zombie, obtained 3 evolution point." Evolution point used for activating the system. He got surprised and asked who was there. Xin Yue asked him what was wrong, but she didn't hear anything. Suddenly, he got dizzy. Suddenly, he found himself surrounded by a blue hue, and a tree-like symbol appeared with a blue shining butterfly flying around it. He appeared in the middle of an ancient-looking structure with 5 huge statues in front of him. Suddenly, their eyes started glowing and shot a blue light beam on his forehead. He received so many messages that he started screaming in pain, "My head. My head is going to explode." Suddenly, we can see 2 system notifications saying, "Evolution systems activated," and "Initiating owner recognition processes." After that, he was surrounded by a blue energy spear with vines growing on it. This system then started changing his genes, which was very painful. After completion of this process, he realized that his body was filled with power. The evolution tree helped him evolve by changing his genes. He realized that the evolution tree could help him to evolve by consuming evolution points, which he could get by defeating zombies. He could update and gain many skills. Although he retained his experience and battle strategies, his body is now weak. So he chose to upgrade his strength attribute. He thought that now he had the help of the evolution tree, he could protect his sister and never let the tragedy happen again. When he woke up, he saw his sister being exhausted by worrying about him sleeping on his lap. Suddenly she woke up and told her brother that he suddenly fainted and made her worry if anything happened to him. He said he was just tired and not to worry, nothing would happen to him. And he would never abandon her. He thought to clean up Mr. and Mrs. Huang's bodies, but when he went there, he got surprised their bodies disappeared. Something dragged them downstairs, leaving a blood trail. At 4 a.m., Duan Fei was searching for his clothes in the closet. He realized that they wouldn't fit him anymore and they were too flashy for him, or maybe he mentally got older. Looking at his hand, he understood that thanks to evolution tree and his gene reconstruction, he was much stronger now and he could use his skills to their full potential. Then Xin Yue brought him their dad's clothes. She told him how chaotic it was outside and how their mom and dad were doing. He got silent for a moment, thinking about when he was 10 years old when his parents left both siblings all by themselves. They only sent them some money every year and never contacted him. After the apocalypse, Duan Fei spent 10 years searching for them but never found them. Back to the present, he replied, "Don't worry, they are adults. They can protect themselves. And we should focus on our safety." Xin Yue agreed and changed the topic by asking how he got that taller in a single night. He thought he should keep it secret for now about evolution tree and his regression from his sister. So he replied, "Even I don't understand. Maybe I'm in the peak of my body's growth period." She replied, "Do you think I would believe it?" Laughing awkwardly, he told her he was going outside. Xin Yue was worried and asked him not to go as it was too dangerous and her disability was a burden for him. She couldn't bear it if anything happened to him since he was the only family she had now. He told her he was sorry for worrying her and he was going outside to secure their building by disposing of any zombies in their building. Realizing she couldn't stop him, she gave him her lucky cross and told him to return before lunch. Being serious, Duan Fei started following a blood trail going downstairs and found a zombie munching on crops. That zombie noticed him and jumped on him. With his newfound strength, Duan Fei cut that zombie in half with a swift blade strike. Killing that zombie, he gained 1 additional point and he leveled up. Every attribute increased by 1. He needed 5 more points to get 6 required points to increase his strength. Then he noticed he needed 10 points to increase 1 level of his mind attribute. In his past life, there were different awakenings of power against those weird abominations. Out of them all, mind power stood above them. He needs 10 points to awaken his mind attribute. However, if he chooses to increase his mind attribute, it will ask for 7 to 10 times more points to increase while leveling up mind attribute. There is no way he could gain that many points at this early stage. Therefore, he decides to increase his strength first and then speed and detection later. He should focus on the task at hand. While searching the area, he found a dog's leash on the floor with blood stains. In another room, he found a dead girl in a bathtub. He realized she was not a zombified by her skin color. Suddenly, a zombie attacked him from behind. With his quick reflexes, he stabbed his blade through that zombie's mouth. He thought about how close it was and how he could have let his guard down. He should stay alert. Realizing there's not much time for lunch, he hurries up and goes to Mr. Huang's apartment. He knocks on the door and says, "Is anyone there?" If no one is there, he would pry the door open. A lady looks through the doors and asks for his purpose for his visit. Duan Fei asks her if she knew there was a zombie outbreak. For safety reasons, he is checking the whole apartment. She replies there is no need for checking, her room is safe. But he is determined. He tells her he needs to see for himself. Finding it troublesome, she lets him in and says, "Look, it is safe now, go." He finds there are no traces of zombies. Then he sees their family picture and asks where her son and husband were. "My son is out for tuition and my husband went to pick him up. Being worried I am unable to sleep," she replies and tells him to leave. Duan Fei apologized for the inconvenience and was about to leave when he heard something. He asked if anyone was in her bedroom. She replied with an afraid look that no one was there. But Duan Fei was determined to check it out. Suddenly, someone in a dark figure attacked him from behind. I will continue this series in this channel. To get notifications for the next episode, click on the subscribe button. If you like and share this video, it will motivate me to create more content. See you in the next video.